Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new podcast, Sophisticated Scoundrels, starring comedians Aries and Gerard. Get ready to be entertained and enlightened by highly intellectual banter and some straight stupid shit. There'll be at times very intriguing and well thought out banter. Other times there'll be just fart jokes, hence the name, Sophisticated Scoundrels. Now sit back, relax, buckle your seatbelt, and get ready for a wild ride like a motherfucker. Notice I didn't say motherfucker with the ER or TH. Well, it's because I'm black, and so is Gerard and Aries, so we say motherfucker. But to our white brothers and sisters, feel free to join in. You too can be part of this motherfucker. You see what I did there? Motherfucker.
Okay, I know you thought it was official last time, but it's really official this time. And just to give you all some context, we had the last time you saw us when we said we were putting together the Gerard and Harry Spears podcast. You might remember we did it via Vlad TV. And first of all, big shout out to Vlad. Thank you for the opportunity. And what I thought was going to be a long lifespan ended up being one episode, because after conversing with my man comedian Gerard Guillory right here, Gerard, holla.
Yes, sir. What's happening? What's up, y'all?
I listen, and I don't get swayed too much by what people say, and of course, but like anything else, you do look at some of the comments, and so many people were like, "Man, why are you going through Vlad?" A lot of people in the community don't fuck with him. Based on what happened with Lord Jamar and Godfrey and the Farrakhan situation, niggas ain't fucking with Vlad. And I really didn't get too much off into that because I just wasn't into that. I didn't know all the backstories. I just know that he always treated me well and gave me respect. And at the end of the day, I'm going to secure the bag. I'm going to secure the bag. And unless all you motherfuckers out there telling me what not to do is paying the mortgage, or putting my kids through college or school, or paying for their health insurance, I get the bag, I get the bag. But what I did think about that was important was I was like, well, I could either continue to let him allow me to fish with him, or, we could fish on our own in our own pond with our own equipment and really secure the bag.
Big bag of fish.
Big bag of fish, fried catfish. You know what niggas eat. We decided let's do our own thing, man, without Vlad. That way we get all the monies and stop making other motherfuckers rich that are already rich. So this is the official first episode of the Aries Spears and Gerard Guillory podcast, officially named Sophisticated Scoundrels.
And you know why.
Yeah, we're going to give you some intellectual, smart banter, and at times it's going to be a fart joke. We're going to talk about boogers and pussy. So it's a little bit of both. It depends on what you're in the mood for.
And hopefully never at the same time, though. Boogers and it
right.
should hardly be, but that should be on the list.
Listen, I've been to strip clubs where they serve steak and fine dining.
Right.
But I can't mix clams with clams. I can't. Them is two separate pleasures, man.
Right.
Either I'm eating or I'm fucking. And I can't have clam dingling in front of me while I'm fucking with clam and butter sauce.
Right, that's too different. You don't want to get the clams mixed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad trip to the strip club.
Absolutely.
And the strip club don't do combos. Right.
No.
It's not like a number one. So if you
Right.
want clam and clam, you're gonna have to ring those up you gotta see the other cashier.
Yeah.
The one in the back.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into the frying pan, man. My man John Leguizamo, who I work with on the movie The Pest, which, depending on who you ask, many in the Latino and Black community consider that like a cult classic. At the time I was doing it, I was just happy to be in Miami, somewhere I had never really been before, doing a movie, period, working with John, who I have the ultimate respect for. But, you kind of, it felt like it wasn't going to be a hit movie, just because certain elements weren't there that I think would have made that happen. But it ended up being like a cult type of thing. So, if people look at it as like their version of Half-Baked, which a lot of people consider a cult comedy, I'll take it. And like I said, I got a lot of love and respect for John. But John recently sent out a post where he was talking about, he was upset at the fact that James Franco might have been playing Fidel Castro. And his whole point was, where are the Latin actors? How come Latin actors aren't being sought out for this role?
Right.
Why this is Hollywood whitewashing. And while we certainly know that there has always been a history of Hollywood whitewashing, I basically said, long story short, bravo, John, I'm with you, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I not so much, part of it was, but I'm not educated enough in depth about Latin culture and history in terms of, because I know like Mexican people almost don't like Puerto Ricans and Puerto Ricans don't like Mexicans. And I always thought if it's under the same umbrella of Latino, fam is fam. So I never got that internal Civil War beef.
Right.
My whole thing was I'm with him on the whitewashing, because certainly it's been done to us. It's been done to all races. And the thing that I found most disheartening was so many people in the Latin community were dismissive of that. They were like, so what? So what? Great acting is great acting. It's called acting. Or they said, Al Pacino was Italian and he played Carlito. And he was a Puerto Rican.
Tony Montana.
He was Italian and he played a Cuban in Scarface. And I went, and this is why I say a lot of times, I think motherfuckers is stupid. Y'all don't understand the difference of fictional versus biographical.
Right.
And the importance of wanting to make sure that your culture, the Latin culture, which is steeped in richness, vast, beautiful, a wonderful culture. You don't want your stories told with honesty and respect, and to think that somehow using the fact that Al Pacino, an Italian American, played a Cuban and a Puerto Rican, like that makes it okay. When again, that's fictional.
It's a difference between the fictional characters, and I understand this more so because I don't know, and forgive my ignorance, but I'm American. Right, we don't know. Right. We're not privy to all the differences, because I understand that James Franco is what, Portuguese?
Yeah, and some people were saying that he's Portuguese, and somehow that has some Latin background to it. So
but John cleared that it didn't,
right.
And then I heard some other spaces where it didn't either. But again, I don't know that story like that. I'll have to take their word, but I do know when Martin Luther King or Harriet Tubman are depicted by non-Black American actors.
Oh,
right?
Like my man, I forget his name, the African British brother who played him in Selma.
Yeah.
Right.
And listen, not mad at people getting roles, but when you're talking about significant, iconic, real people who mean something very specific, right. And again, it's not like we're not a talented bunch. Remember, you don't have to leave out of the Black community to find an excellent actor to play Martin Luther King, who may be from Atlanta. He might be from the South. He may have been told stories and seen pictures and be all about it. It's in his blood. So I understand why
So let
John
me ask you this. Am I being it? Because here, and I didn't really put too much thought into that, because before I jump to what I'm going to ask you, I said this. Look, since we've been brought here in chains, we've been stripped of identity, robbed of self, don't have any history to who we really are, our religion. And once you get past slavery, now let's talk about from slavery to today, cultural appropriation. You know, the saying they like our rhythm, but they don't want our blues.
That part.
Everything from the way we walk to the way we talk, the way we sing, the way we dance, our swagger. Elvis Presley taken from black musicians and getting all the credit, as Ray Charles pointed out. So it's like we have been the people of being robbed and fucked since we've been here.
Right.
America is the Babe Ruth of racism, and we've always been the biggest victims. Not saying that I'm trying to downplay anybody else's plight,
right?
But we hold that title.
Absolutely.
So I think we tend to be a little bit more protective of that, our image and who we are and our history, and maybe because, and again, I'm sure there are Latin people who will say in the comments, who I've heard say, well, you know, we've gone through shit too.
Absolutely.
Everybody's going through shit.
Absolutely.
But not like us. So I'm thinking maybe that's why you guys are so, some people in the Latin community, I don't make it seem like all Latins, because there were a lot of Latin people who were standing firm with John, bravo, protect our shit.
Right.
But again, the fact that there were so many more Latinos who were dismissive of that and upset by that. And I go, maybe because y'all haven't had the same torturous history that we have had since slavery to today, that y'all don't care about that like we do. So my question to you is this. If I go, all right, the brother playing King and Selma was British, but he's still a black man. He's still a black man. So under that umbrella, I don't know that I have a problem with that. But then does that make me look like a hypocrite?
No, I mean, you that I think we're all entitled to have our own opinion, but if you support John, then you can't take that stance. We just determined if it's Idris Elba playing Joe Schmo, that's fine.
James Bond, because he was supposed to.
James Bond. Now that makes sense because he's British,
but he's black. And some people might argue, and I'm not saying,
but the role he's playing is
fictitious.
Is not only is it fictitious, it's where he come from. Now, remember, you're not bringing a black dude from Compton to England to use his British accent to play Bond, a British character, while you got a black British actor over there who would be upset about it. But Bond is fictitious. We're talking about people who are tied to our very being. The only way we able to sit out here and do these nice things and ride nice cars and travel about the earth is because of the efforts and the sacrifice of those people before us who constantly get diminished. Remember the same people who murdered Martin Luther King bring his name up all the time. What would King want you? That's not Dr. King would be upset.
Like, call you a nigga, don't punch me in the face. What would King do?
That thing, yeah, they use him for, and nobody mentions the speech he was about to read. Nobody mentions
that last speech.
That part.
Yes.
Nobody mentions when he said, I think I may have led everybody down to the slaughter. We're getting ready to start talking about reparations. Boom, here he is on the balcony at the Lorraine Motel.
Right.
So, no, when it's tied to, and that's why I keep saying I agree with you, and I hope not to offend any of the listeners right here by diminishing with their role and how much hell they take. Independent of where you come from, in America, it is my opinion and belief that the rules are written in black and white. If you're not black, you're white. You know what I'm saying? If you're not white, you're black. And there's some level of that. You can now when your group is being pulled up, and you understand you're being pulled up over the black people who were suffering before you got here, and you dismiss that, and then you get some suffering, then you finally kind of halfway understand, right? It's different to hear John Leguizamo say this, but when Cynthia Erivo was playing Harriet Tubman, and then they start scrolling back through her tweets and Instagram posts where she's really, really harsh and hard on black men. They go in on black dudes. These are people who only date white men, and they go in on the black community. They talk cash shit about us, and then when it's time for our icon to be cast, that's who gets the part? Remember, we're talking about whitewashing Hollywood. We're talking about the group of people who would paint Charlton Heston brown and give him a fake-ass, what you call it, is on Showtime this month. Maria. Who played in the original West Side Story? It was Natalie Wood, and there wasn't no Puerto Ricans in the real.
No. Oh God! And we just I watched her documentary. Her name is drawing a blank, but the woman that played, I can't remember her name, but she was a Puerto Rican woman in the movie West Side Story.
But the gang members though, the guys in the gang, those were white, and it was like that with everything. We I don't want to mention his name, but we've seen white guys play Asian.
Oh well,
they
played the worst display ever. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Mickey, I think it's Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke.
Rooney, was it
Mickey Rooney?
Mickey Rooney. And he's got the fucking glasses with the over-exaggerated buck teeth.
They didn't have any problem doing that. They didn't have. That's why I say white.
Or was it David Carradine and Kung Fu?
Kung Fu. In the middle of a karate movement that was brought on by Bruce Lee, who's sitting right there in Oakland.
Right.
And how everybody was doing, man, if you ever go back and listen to the original Crips and Bloods talk, remember, they were out there doing karate. You had to know some karate to be out there fighting in the streets with the real, with the original. So we're talking about how prominent martial arts was, and they went and got Carradine. And remember, it was like 10 of those guys. It was a bunch of Carradine brothers, right?
Excuse me, yes, Mr. Mooney? For the goddamn record, nigga, Cleopatra is a nigga. It wasn't a goddamn Elizabeth Taylor. White folks are always at it, changing our shit. Ask Chris Rock to be Elvis Presley, nigga. Ask Angela Bassett to be Amelia Earhart. They're not doing it. Those crackers think they're slick. Cleopatra was a goddamn nigga in Egypt. All that goddamn sun. There's no way that white bitch Elizabeth Taylor could have handled that goddamn sun. They didn't have copper tone. They didn't have sun cream then.
SPF.
Egypt and Africa. Niggas is white folks is niggas building pyramids. Them huckies would have passed out. Only real niggas can take that sun and keep working.
Paul, what is the number of SPF Elizabeth Taylor would have actually needed to stand in the
a goddamn number, infinity, nigga. No goddamn number. No, that number keeps moving. God damn it. They haven't made
SPF pi R square.
Some shit niggas can't even compute. Even the goddamn Chinese would have been like, we don't know these numbers. Let me really be frank here.
Wait a minute, it's gonna get more frank than you and Paul.
Oh man. You know, some of the comments people said were one guy in particular was like, man, bootlicking comes in all colors. And certainly we know, we call them house niggas that want white acceptance so bad they're willing to be whatever Sam Jackson's character name was in Django.
My gosh. So he played it.
You remember his name?
I can't, because he played it so well that I didn't want to see his next two movies. I was mad when he asked what was in my wallet. What you gonna do? Give it to the white man? What's in your wallet? This is not a Capital One. That's house nigga talk. Yeah.
But listen, I feel like to some degree it's that same thing.
Absolutely.
It's certain Latin Americans feeling like in order to be validated in America and in Hollywood and in life, you know, they want white acceptance. Because I just don't understand how you totally have a disregard for your own culture. That again, and I don't mean to sound repetitive, but a culture that is enriched in diversity and beauty and layers and of just music and food and history and people. How do you want that story to not be represented correctly? Again, fictitious character all day long. Was Robert De Niro Jewish when he played Sam Rothstein in Casino?
Right.
No, but to me, and maybe this is where I'm sounding ignorant, he's still a white guy. He's still a white guy. That's why when I go, the British brother playing Dr. King, and I really didn't put that much concentration into it till you brought that up. I just don't know that bothers me as much because he's still a black man.
But
I know, but now I'm starting to go, and this is where I go, I might be sounding like a hypocrite.
I don't know if you qualify it as a hypocrite, but then also just pay attention. If we look at, you know, black people seem to be the only group of people who we assume are a monolith, that we're all just one big black person. that they assume we all vote the same. Remember, when
Right.
it comes time to vote, and it's like, what you mean you're not going down to the polls, right? Where we remember it was okay for there to be Joe Biden was pushing all that immigration activity, and then we look up and see all these Latinos for Trump, and so nobody, we in my area of the community, we just noted that because we were saying, how come if black people either want to vote Republican or you have liberals, we're some of everybody. And I think every group is some of everybody. We just assume everybody's going to stand together. And everybody assumes that just for black people. Mm-hmm. We all eat watermelon and chicken and greens and, you know what I mean? We all go to a Baptist church and jump up and scream up and down. We all love Beyonce. We all don't listen to rock music. We don't, you know what I mean? And we know all of that to not be true. Right. But I'm saying there are specific things right there. And remember, America is very good at holding the carrot. So you got people here from every aspect of life who will get here and in order to make it here, shun and throw their heritage in the trash can. You look at the original people. Remember, when we go back to the mafia days, remember everybody had their own mafia. Remember, it was the Italian mafia, the Jewish mafia, the Polish mafia. Everybody had their own mafia. And then in my lifetime, you had All in the Family. If you Gen Z, look it up. It was completely inappropriate. As a matter of fact, it might knock your tooth out of how soft and the generations are. But there was a very rough sitcom, and it was the number one sitcom on the show. And Archie Bunker talked cash shit about everybody. Polak, he had an epithet for everybody. But somewhere, that part, now somewhere between the 60s or whatever, I don't know when it was, but you notice we don't hear a lot about any of that now. That's why we say white people. Because a lot of those groups cashed in their own heritage just to join in and be white. Right. So just like how black people are suffering because we don't have an idea about our history, right now you got people out here who are moving around as young folks who are qualify themselves as white, but they're Greek, they're Russian, they're Italian, and they don't understand that they have the propensity of those people. Their grandparents cashed it in just so they could come up in America. Right. Remember, they'll hold the carrot. You can only reach the top if you do these things, and one of those things is that you can't bring all of their ass with you. You're not going to be able to bring the unit. And I know every subgroup here in America understands that. You don't get to be your full heritaged out self and be sitting on the board at IBM. You're going to fall in. You're going to drive the same car in gray. You're going to live in that neighborhood. Your children will go to school with their kids. And in order for that to happen, you're going to cash in all of that loud music and chicken in the yard and corn.
It's just funny to me that it seems like
barbecue.
In order for them to get that acceptance, they feel the need to shit on us, when in the bigger picture, they're being shitted on just the same.
That's the part but remember, I say this all the time, America has... certainly white supremacy in America, and forgive, I bet 8 people just turned as soon as I say white supremacy, but there's one play. There's one play, and they run it a whole, and that is divide and conquer, man. Divide and conquer comes in 25, 27 shapes and sizes. Wherever 2 people from different groups are together, they can throw a wrench inside of that and have it be messed up. And that's kind of what that is. And every group will have to deal with it. And I've said this over, and I'll give the short version of it now. But like I said, in my opinion, civil rights died on the balcony with Martin Luther King. So when you look at Scarface and movies like Scarface and Superfly, these are movies where the guy was a dope dealer, and when the movie was over with, everybody in that generation walked out of that theater and went and got them a pack with the idea to be Tony Montana. But they forgot the last scene in the movie. He died on the balcony. So my point is that if you try to pick up a tool that was originally meant to get one group to a great place, but you didn't, you saw that it failed, and when you pick it up, you think it's going to take you to the great place. You don't know. Your job when you pick up civil rights is what I'm talking about. When the next group picks up civil rights, if you don't make sure that it gets taken all the way to fruit, then your mission is going to fail. Y'all are following a failed mission. So everybody come. Remember, that's why it's called civil rights. It was black people. That was for black people. But they call it civil rights to make sure everybody gets some. And they let everybody pick up the baton and only make it as far as we didn't get to where we were supposed to have everything. And every group who came behind us, that's every ethnic group, that's feminism, that is LGBT, that's every group who tried to use it to advance their cause. You're only going to make it down the road a couple of miles. You're not going to get to the finish line because the sample didn't. The sample didn't get to fruit.
Right.
So that's everybody who will undermine black people. And I hate to keep it as real as it is. It's written in black and white here. You're going to follow one line or the other. Remember, one of those is not going to be available to you if your skin ain't clear enough. You're going to be treated in a very particular manner. But you think you're doing better than the group below you, so you don't mind. So that thing, I think until we, again, as individuals, you got to start loving yourself. As an individual, you have to remember you come from a group, and that it was important for you to understand who the people were who spearheaded and did the most things in that group. No matter if you agree with it or not, you're supposed to know it. So you don't jump on somebody's Instagram comments and look like an asshole defending something that harmed you and your family before your ass got here.
Right.
History is significant.
And look, and I always say, and this might be the Charles Barkley in me, I think most people are stupid. I really do. I don't think most people are bright. That's why it was almost, and again, I'm trying to be very careful about how I respond, because it was the reason why my account got suspended the first time, and I had to pay $3,500 to get it back. Because people say shit, and I go, walk away. But at the same time, I go, motherfucker. And I'm, you dumb motherfucker. Like, when you say it like that, and they go, good acting is good acting. What does it matter? Okay, so by that logic, nigga, Jerry Seinfeld is playing Nelson Mandela. What is the deal with apartheid? Like, get the fuck out of here, man.
27 years.
27 years. Like, that shit matters.
Right. Damn right it does. But you got to remember whoever's asking. I think you hit it on the head. You know, that's why we call them the masses. John Q. Public.
Right.
I saw a headline. I didn't read the story. I saw a headline yesterday. It said that 130 million Americans have the proficiency of a sixth grader. So we don't even think.
So that proves my point.
That absolutely proves the point. And that point, I believe that, like I said, the masses, when those terms are used, John Q. Public, remember, nobody ever said John Q. Public was brilliant.
Right.
You only use that term when you're talking about how they're a bunch of idiots. If you do these things, John Q. Public will follow. That's a herd. John Q. Public is the herd. They will do what they are told to do, what they are led to do and led to believe. We're talking about language. You know what I mean?
Right.
Constant. So, don't get in trouble. That's Aries just gave y'all a valuable, I'm going to save you $3,500. Don't respond to the dumb shit.
It's hard, man. It's hard because between the alpha male in me, the New Yorker in me, the competitor in me, when it comes to linguistics and verbiage, a lot of these niggas play checkers, man. I'm playing chess. And when you say some shit to me, I want to chess you.
Right.
So, but in and being smart, I think Warren Buffett had a great quote. God, if you can't control your emotions, you can't control your money. And if Instagram, like all these other platforms, TikTok and all that, is a place where you can make some revenue and you could network and lead to shit, and your emotions get the best of you and your shit gets shut down, there goes your money. There goes your money. So I'm still trying to figure out how that one African nigga on TikTok, this guy,
$1 billion, 1,200 zillion, everyone on earth has signed up to follow dude. Yeah. John Q. Public. Again, whatever you are interested, the beauty of the internet, if what you are interested in, you find it, you can follow it, and that's the beauty of this. But I was saying this about popularity. We know this in life, in popularity. The first people we know who are popular is the captain of the football team and the head cheerleader.
Right.
In some kind of way they go there. They're steeped at the top of the social value of school, right? And they're only really popular, right? She's beautiful and he can throw the ball. And they're popular because of that, but they're insulated by the other members of the in crowd. And so now when the chess club and the swim team and the lames know who, remember, dude always has a cool last name, Jake Stanton or something like that, right? Then you go to the party at Jake Stanton's house. I didn't get invited to Jake Stanton. Jake Stanton, he always got 1 syllable first name, 2 syllable last name. He's cool as hell. And he's handsome. You know why? Because his daddy was a quarterback, which made his mama who? The cheerleader, right? So he's got the good gene, and they're surrounded, the offensive line and all the other cool people. And so now it's easy for the person who's way at the bottom of the totem pole to jump in and like. Now, if you just randomly, you're nobody, you just a regular person, and you open up Instagram and you put up something really cold-blooded, remember, you ain't going to go viral until the popular kids come and like.
Right.
Not that they watched it, but that they hit the button. So popularity is not about the thing. It's about the things around the thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, dude, if you got people, 1 billion people following you, you've done something. But you ain't do no 1 billion followers worth. That was about the 100 people who came first, who made it sexy for everyone else to follow.
Okay. Let's switch gears for a second. I want to talk about something that was the pimpiest shit I've ever seen. And first of all, we at the Sophisticated Scoundrels podcast do not endorse or condone abuse to women, towards women of any kind. That being said, there's a famous clip of Sean Connery talking to Barbara Walters where he basically said, hey, man, every now and then, gotta slap a bitch. And it's the funniest thing in the world to me, not because of him saying that you should slap a bitch, even though sometimes you might need to slap a bitch, but because of what he says to end it, because it's a double entendre and it's a truth. So without further ado, Sean Connery.
Okay, you did an interview in which you said, not the worst thing to slap a woman now and then. As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist, it's better to do it with an open hand. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You haven't?
No, not at all.
You think it's good to slap a woman?
No, I don't think it's good. I
don't think it's bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it. Yeah.
What would merit it?
Well, if you have tried everything else, and women are pretty good at this, they can't leave it alone. They want to have the last word, and you give them the last word, but they're not happy with the last word. They want to say it again and get into a really provocative situation. Then I think it's absolutely right.
To give her a good slap?
Yeah, absolutely.
What if she gives you a good slap back?
Well, then you get into another area. I mean, then maybe she's getting to like it, and then it becomes something else. I don't know. But no, seriously, I think that it's the last resort. He's not going to do it because he wants to do it. Huh?
Wait till people see this interview. Are you going to get mail?
Might get some female.
Yo! Okay, let's get to the end. And then we can go backwards and dive into what he was talking about. When she goes,
man,
you know you're going to get a lot of mail for this. And he says, I might get a lot of female.
Man.
Nigga, can we just please have 5 seconds of silence for that line, starting now?
Man, that's crazy. As now, again,
as these young kids would say, that's a bar. And I think they're talking in rap linguistics.
That is definitely a bar. You know me, if y'all know what I'm into, double entendre wordplay is fantastic. We got to go back and do this and set it. If you know who Sean Connery is, then and Barbara Walters, and you saw the clip, then you understand how old that is.
Yes.
Now remember, this generation does not understand how the past was the past. They do not. But the fact
not saying it was okay.
But
just saying
it was a very particular era. that followed a more ridiculous era prior to it. So it was softer at the time than the era that preceded it.
Well,
But
the woman knew to stay at a place.
man, said, what if she hits you back?
And he said, well, then we'll have a different
They
situation.
say, well, now it's getting into a whole nother situation. Her mouth is wide open.
Right.
Now, remember, too, while we sit in the air, I did want to say this.
Yes.
One of those people who was painted Chinese
Yes.
was Sean Connery. It was in the James Bond movie where they just refused to put some Asians in there. They made him look like he was Asian. Okay. Just talking about that era.
Right.
Yeah. Now, listen, I wouldn't imagine in any era that you would be willing to have that conversation.
Right.
That was not the TMZ era where that was not a selfie, right? No woman who Sean Connery belted
Right.
had a selfie that she posted of a fat lip or a black eye. Like, you only know that he did that because he said it in the interview.
Right.
There's no background of that.
And Me Too was in the crustacean era.
Oh my gosh. And it had been popping off, but it didn't behoove anybody to say nothing.
Right.
It didn't behoove any. Matter of fact, that may have been how Barbara got over there. Ain't no telling. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
There was actually, I don't remember which James Bond movie it was, but my father was a movie connoisseur, and he loved James Bond. Matter of fact, that's how I got introduced to James Bond. And my first James Bond was, of course, the original and the most beloved James Bond, Sean Connery. But there was a Bond episode where chick, I think him and a broad was on the beach, and he got into a little tussle with her, and he did it where he took her bikini, not down off where you could see her breasts and nipples,
Right.
but he kind of took it off her shoulders and tied her up with it, and then slapped her.
Right.
And again, this is coming from an era where that was what it was.
It was customary.
Yes.
And if you're a film person, you like I mentioned, you can see this in documentaries.
Yes.
This was very
Yes.
significant in filmmaking.
I'll even go back further than that, because when I say my dad was a film connoisseur, he was a connoisseur. And this is one of the things, even though my father and I didn't have the greatest relationship, and he wasn't there like he probably should have been, but the one thing I do love is he passed on his appreciation of film to me. But there's, my man, the gangster from the James Cagney. I forget what the movie was. Top of the world, man. But there was a movie he did where,
I'm sorry,
where he was sitting at a table having breakfast, and the woman he was with said something stupid, and he took the grapefruit she was fit to eat and mushed it in her face, and hit her with it and twisted. He goes, "Well, your dames are all stupid," and he did like that. Now again, you're talking about a time when this was deemed acceptable.
That was the thing.
Right. But the thing that Sean said, which is why it's such a hat tip to me, is because she goes, "You might get some male." He goes, "I might get some female." So it's a play on male, but the truth, the devil is in the details. I may get some female. I might get some pussy. And here's where I can hear the feminists. Boo! But what y'all won't admit to, there are some women that was turned on by what he said. There are some women who will be turned on by what he did. Now I'm not painting a license to say that's okay, because that's where you get in trouble. But I'm being honest. Listen, Richard Ramirez. Do you remember who Richard Ramirez?
He was the Night Stalker.
The Night Stalker.
Yeah.
He got fan mail.
Oh yeah.
Women wanted to fuck him. Now, as sick as that is, and I believe you a twisted bitch, you want to fuck a murderer, a serial killer.
Right.
But the point is, there are women who are turned on by certain things.
By violence and so forth. And again,
so when he said that, I don't know if he was trying to be funny, but there's a truth in what he said.
Well, remember the line before, though. Remember she said before the male, remember she said, if he hits you, I mean, if she hits you back,
right?
He says another scenario, or maybe she likes it. So that was probably, that because it sounded like Sean Connery had done it enough to run a litmus test. Like, okay, don't do it 2 times. She don't like it when you do it. Like, okay, they like it after midnight with a couple of drinks in it.
Right.
Okay, every time I drive to Lincoln, it's
Right,
okay. Right.
right.
He could separate and understand when it was
Right.
cool. Again, if this is that, please don't try any of this at home.
Right.
We do the sophisticated scoundrels advise you not to do none of this at home. Just talking about an era
Right.
and the fact that to this day, you have women marrying dudes in prison
Right.
for having done that. There are women walking around with guys who are famous for, right now, Johnny Depp ain't having no problems right now.
You best believe Ike Turner got some pussy after Tina.
Directly after. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not a deterrent for some women. And that's why dudes who can't control themselves end up in bad space, because they don't choose well.
Right.
There's a woman that's for you if that's how you get out.
Right. But not only that, my question then becomes, we know to a clip like that, the feminists, or even women who aren't deemed feminists, but headstrong women that say, hey, that's a major no-no, they're going to respond.
Yeah.
Why don't the women who are turned on by that respond? Why do they live in the shadows when they know, hey, I don't see nothing wrong with what he said? How come they never come forward?
Because you're going to want to take your child out of that school. You'd be like, oh no, Miss Crabtree, you're not teaching my son 3rd grade arithmetic, and you out here defending woman beater.
Right.
It's not woman beater. I like it. Listen, Miss Crabtree, we just come for the math and the history.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think you might be really surprised at who it is.
Listen, I remember I saw a documentary about chronicalizing the history of James Bond, from Sean Connery to all of them, George Lazenby, Timothy
Moore.
Dalton, Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, and eventually Daniel Craig. And I remember when they first were trying to figure out who was going to play James Bond, and they had gone through a slew of actors. And finally they came up on Sean Connery, and it boiled down to Ian Fleming sitting in the theater with his wife, his then wife, and he leaned over to her during a screen test and said, would you fuck him? And she went, yes. So now throw that into the pot. Sean Connery was a sex symbol.
Right.
That Sean Connery in that clip was
Right.
deemed a sex symbol.
Right.
Now we talking about 60s jet black slicked hair back, Miss Penny,
Mm-hmm.
in the suit.
Mm-hmm.
Women love Sean Connery, and I always say, listen, just like blondes with big tits have advantages, any woman with big tits that's well endowed has advantages over women that don't. The same work for men.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe Brad Pitt, if he were an office guy working in an office building as a boss, he might be able to get away with sexual harassment, whereas John C. Reilly wouldn't.
Listen, if they
Who's the dude that played Mr. Bean? Rowan Atkinson. If he compliments your titties, he's a lawsuit. If a young George Clooney does, girl, he's so crazy.
But here's the thing, though. If you notice with Me Too, there were lots of men who were removed from their perch, right? Right? It was a lot of directors and actors, but they all sat in a position. There was not one broke man. There was a lot of ugly dudes. There was a lot of dudes with no game. It was a lot of dudes who used Rogaine. It was a lot of dudes. Man, somebody feed me something that rhymes. It was a lot of
Rogaine?
Yeah, it was a dude who was not hot like propane.
Right.
And they all had in common that they
Right.
sat where they could make the exchange.
Right.
I believe that it doesn't matter if a man is handsome or if he has, because remember that foreign. See, imagine James Bond with an American accent.
Okay.
That's different.
Right.
That's different if that's a dude who's sound like he's from Texas or Tennessee talking about smacking women. That's not sexy. They don't have nothing to.
Well, if that's Matthew McConaughey, who's from Texas with an accent.
But he's running for governor. We got to get somebody who's scumbag, more scum. Well, actually, who's less scumbaggy. You're in politics
Right,
now, brother.
right.
Yeah, you may as well be punching women in the mouth. But
You know, all I'm saying is looks can matter. And if you got success, you got fame, you certainly got enough money, and you ugly, you still might get over. But now throw good looks into that.
Well, now we back at the football game with the cheerleader and the.
And right.
Like I said, they all got just the level of popularity. Right. And remember that dude. Remember the high school quarterback.
Right.
Remember, he's always a rape case at the after party. Coach is covering up for him with all of this same stuff.
Right.
Every time we look up, your favorite football team is having to. Well, I thought, what's his name was playing today?
Right.
Oh, he's suspended. Yeah, they had to drop him from the team. He couldn't keep his hand. Lawrence Phillips. Just got to be really good. Remember that? It moves you to the front of the line. In America, if you're good looking or really good at what you do.
Right.
You will be moved to the front of the line and excuses will be made. And it's going to be hard to fix it because you're going to always have people when in show business, right? It's going to be a bunch of ladies. I'm positive there are men who have been in stranges, but you know what I mean? It's like, I know it's a dude out here who's like, man, I got that. Every time I see that commercial, man, my dick go limp. I can't believe I did that. But that's an anomaly.
Okay.
But it's a lot women will do, and just because in pursuit of this, in pursuit of fame and fortune and whatnot, people are willing to do a whole lot of stuff, man.
Before we wrap this up, let's have a little bit of fun here. I'm gonna do some TV man woman trivia with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so 80s television. If you had to pick 3 women as your go-to women to rub one out, how old are you in the 80s? Like 84, 84, 83?
80s women.
But how old were you then?
Again, give
in
me
80s.
Well, I graduated high school in 89.
So your teen years. What was your teen years?
Lisa Bonet.
Okay.
From the Cosby Show.
Okay. So here's my 3.
Mm-hmm.
Jonah Kern, Growing Pains.
The mother?
The mother.
She was fly.
I had a hot thing for Jonah
I'm not
Kearns.
mad. I'm not mad.
Jack A227.
Ooh.
That's what you say when you realize you done got it all over yourself.
You in there watching 227 or you doing the thing again?
Claire Huxtable.
Man, Felicia Rashad. Yes, indeed.
And just for comedic purposes, I'm going to say Blanche from Golden Girls.
Thought you were going to say Blair from Facts of Life. Yeah.
Okay, so give me your 3 for real, and then give me one for comedic purposes.
So we're doing 80s, so no 70s, right?
You could throw a 70s in there.
Thelma from Good Times.
Oh.
It'll be Lisa Bonet. From Cosby Show. And very specifically from the era, Vanessa Williams. I happen to have...
TV. Was she on TV?
She was Miss America, and she played in a lot of TV shows at the time.
Give me sitcom now.
Sitcom. You said Joanna Kearns. I'm going to go with Justine Bateman.
From Family Ties.
Really? I thought she was fly, man.
Okay.
I thought she was fly.
Okay. And now for comedic purposes, who would you rub one out to?
Who was your comedic purpose?
Blanche from Golden Girls. She was the flyest of the old white bitches.
Joe Polnicek from
Facts of Life. She was sexy though.
Yeah, but she came in with last year's. She played the poor chick. Who else?
I was hoping you would say the old black woman from 227 hanging out the window.
What was her name?
I don't know.
She played in everything. That was Robert Townsend's grandmother in
Hollywood Shuffle.
Man.
Yeah.
No, I know there's a better one. Oh man. My 80s TV game is crazy too. Cree Summer.
Different World?
Different World.
She was a nerdy sexy.
Oh, she got to be not fly?
Yeah, that's why I said for comedic purposes. Who you just would go, ugh.
oh man, damn it. What's some older? The dun 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 dun. Amen.
Oh,
Craig's mama from Friday.
oh, I know who you talking about. I don't know her
I
name.
can't remember
but I know who you talking about.
Anne Marie Johnson.
No, Anne Marie Johnson was a skinny fly chick, I think.
She was.
I tell you what, I'll give you a choice between the two. You pick one. The mother from What's Happening?
Mabel.
Yes, Mabel King. Or Esther Roll, Good Times. And be careful, because naked, I look like Esther Roll.
Listen, we want to thank y'all for tuning in this week.
I take my clothes off, nigga, butt naked. I am built like Florida Evans, nigga.
Damn, James. Man, you ruined. Man, you got to give me 2 more now. Mabel, I'm not going to lie. Mabel was fly.
Mabel King?
Mabel Thomas. Yeah, Mabel King. She was actually a really pretty lady. She had a raspy voice.
Right.
That was Roger Mama, and she was also in Bingo Long in the Traveling All-Star. I'm going to go with Mabel.
Bingo, and that's the 70s, right? That movie?
Mm-hmm.
Billy D. Williams is in that.
Billy D., Richard Pryor.
Dude, okay. I'm 47. How old are you?
51.
It doesn't seem like that's that big of a gap, but I noticed between Cooley High and that reference, you linger more in the 70s, late 70s.
Well, I have an older brother who, like I told you about Cooley High, that was not made up. That dude would wake me up at 3:30 in the morning. Remember, there was no space for black movies.
Right.
So the black movies came on at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. And he would wake me up. Now, the funny thing is, like I said, by the time I turned 18, it turned out everybody I knew, that's how they saw it. They got their ass up at 4 in the morning and watched it. But my parents, again, Billy D was the
He was
that guy. As a matter of fact, I would like to see can we pull up a clip of Billy D and Barbara Walters.
That's hilarious, dude.
Don't let that smooth taste fool you, man.
You're gonna remember this. You might not remember it in terms of the detail. But you said nigga, and for those of you who don't know, when Andy Steinberg, my guy who features with me on the road and who does the second half of the Spears and Steinberg podcast, when he's not with me, Gerard will be filling in. And it's bittersweet because I haven't been reminded until recently how funny this motherfucker is. And in terms of speed, improv, crowd work, he can go with the best of them. And I forget where we were, but there was a dude, and the way this brother's hair was, you said this nigga looked like he came from Madame Zenobia's. And what killed me about that reference, and I say again, my father's a film connoisseur, I think you have to be a certain age of black to know that fucking reference. When you said Madame Zenobia's, nigga, from the Bill Cosby Sidney Poitier movie.
Come on, man. That's
Roscoe Lee Brown.
Uptown, yes. Yeah, come on, man.
As a comic
Richard
and a
Pryor.
movie guy, do you know how much respect I have? It's such an obscure. You got to be a certain flavor nigga to know that.
I can't remember where we were either, but it killed. So
what made it kill was his hair. It laid and looked like Roscoe Lee Brown. And the fact that you called him, you said Madame Zenobia's.
That might have been in Addison. That might have been in
I
Dallas.
guarantee you, if you black and you ain't a granddaddy, you don't know, or really up there in age father. You can't be in your 30s and surely your 20s, maybe even your 40s, unless you really and know that reference.
But it does. It's not aesthetically, but sonically, it sounds funny. Again, that's one of those things like popularity.
Right.
You don't need but 15, 20 people to bust out laughing at that, and then doing the baby like, I'm gonna say, Madam obvious, right? It's like you don't even know, but it sounds funny if you don't know,
right?
But which even when Bill Cosby was saying we're going down Madam Zenobia's tonight,
right?
Remember he had a letter.
Right.
I got a letter that says we with some diamond. We're important in the diamond business.
That was the same movie where they fought Little C's in the bar.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And for a straight man, Sidney Poitier was comedic gold.
Come on, man.
He knew how to fall back and let Bill be Bill, but he knew as the straight man how to be funny. And I always say I tip my hat to both, particularly Jason Bateman, one of the
absolutely.
best straight funny motherfuckers in film.
Absolutely.
And what's so great, he's so immensely talented and diverse in that he can do straight comedy as the straight guy and be as funny as the funny guy, or he can give you straight drama a la Ozark,
Right.
which is one of my favorite series ever via Netflix. Jason Bateman's a bad boy. And for a guy not to be a comedian, Vince Vaughn.
Vince
God, I
Vaughn's
love Vince
timing
Vaughn.
was
What?
what was the last thing you've seen him in? Like, has he's not been really, really active, or because I would not know, but I do know.
Right.
I remember when I was working at the Improv in Vegas one time, man. I was on my way
Right.
downstairs, and that dude got on the elevator, and this was back when swingers and all of that.
Yeah.
It's in the early
This was
time.
a young Vince
But
Vaughn.
his timing always reminded me, long before I got into comedy, the dude who I thought, because remember, and I just referred to his sister, Jason Bateman has been on television
Right.
practicing that since the very early 80s, right? He at a high level.
He had the TV show with, I can't remember.
Sandy Duncan. And she replaced, or they replaced her with
I don't know who they replaced.
Rhoda, the
Okay.
girl who played Rhoda,
Right,
and you got to
right.
be 90 to know who that is.
Right.
But Anthony Michael Hall, who you'll know from
Weird Science.
Weird Science.
One
And
of
if
the funniest scenes
Man.
ever. What the boy talk about with the nigga with the telephone?
you called her on the
On
phone?
the telephone. She.
Come on, man. Fat. What she do? Man, she need his nuts and called him faggot in front of his friend. Dude, he don't even have his license. I mean, so many quotables. But
Right.
if you go to, was not Pretty in Pink. What was it? It was her birthday. No, that was Weird Science.
16 Candles.
16 Candles.
Right.
Like, his bullshit.
Right.
He was able to, like, just the timing. And it's so, as a grown, looking at Vince Vaughn, it always makes me think about Anthony Michael Hall.
Right.
Who later, he was missing forever and then showed up doing straight drama.
Right.
But yeah, Vince Vaughn's timing, comedic timing,
I always say,
unbelievable, impeccable.
As hard as acting is, sometimes reacting is even harder because you don't have dialogue. You're going off of facials and
Right.
physicality. And some of his reactions are the best reactions ever.
Right.
He makes me laugh, man.
Come on, man. It's like they did it all on the first take.
Right.
Y'all want to do it again?
Right.
It's like he didn't even, his script only had his lines on it. Like, I didn't know you were going to say that. His response is natural.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have certainly enjoyed the very first official episode of, I got to catch myself because I'm so used to saying Spears and Steinberg. I'm going, so Spears and Gerard, Aries and Gerard, Spears and Guillory, Sophisticated Scoundrels.
That's what you need to remember.
Yes. So please stick with us. I think we're going to do Mondays. Every Monday, new episode. Available on all streaming platforms, certainly on YouTube. And this is the beginning, baby. Grow with us. I can't wait to see where we go.
Looking forward.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yes, sir.
Somebody call Barbara Walters or something.